Is Portra 160 any good for landscape photography? Now when you think of landscape photography with film, you tend to think of things like Fuji Velvia or Kodak Ektar, these super saturated films which grab the attention. You know, they've got the lush greens and they've got the blues and the reds. You know, it could be considered a little bit over the top at times, but that's typically what landscape photographers are known for. It's those vibrant colours. But there is another approach. There is a sort of a halfway house. You don't have to go full on with colour every single time. You can go for a more muted, a more subtle look. There are times when I actually want to go out and shoot maybe black and white, but I think it could just lack something. There's a little bit of separation needed between those tones. And I want to suggest something of the temperature, the feel of the day. And black and white's not always ideal for that. So on those occasions, I like to use something like a Portra 400. Now, if I was pushed, I would say Portra 400 is my favourite colour film, bar none. If someone said you have to use just one film, one colour film for the rest of your life, I would probably reluctantly say Portra 400, because it's got that beautiful balance of natural tones and the soft colours, the pastels. It renders the world in the way I see it. But there's another Portra film out there, Portra 160. This Portra 160 is obviously slower, it's almost 2 stops slower, but it's also more subtle, it's more soft, it's more pastel. Typically used for portraiture, wedding photography, but I've used it a few times in the past and I've been quite impressed with it, with its rendering. It's very, very low contrast look. And I thought I would go out on a trip and take it to see if I could actually get something different out of a location I'm reasonably familiar with. So this is the video of that trip, and I enjoyed using the Portra 160 immensely. Definitely enjoyed it. I think it was the right choice. But anyway, have a look at the video and yeah, just see what you think. Well, I've come out this morning to a coastal location in North Wales, and the forecast was for heavy rain, strong winds. Well, thankfully after an hour in the car the rain has abated and the winds aren't too bad either, so I think I'm in luck. Now I am going to go for a very, very subtle moody look this morning, and I will be shooting with the Portra 160, hoping for a little bit of colour in that sky, but I think it's going to be very subtle. Now I'm shooting with an all-in-one lens at 28-200 because I need flexibility to change focal lengths very quickly. And also, if it starts to rain, I've got a plastic bag I can cover the lens with and continue to use it without swapping out primes. So just far more convenient for this sort of shooting. So yeah, the light's starting to lift a little bit now. It's not perfect, but far better than I expected, to be honest. Now, in addition to the more obvious shots of the surf, a little bit of horizon in there, just like that dull, moody sky and the grey seas. I'm also making a few compositions just with the rocks, looking down from quite a steep angle and trying to capture the movement of the water within the small pebbles and the boulders. There's a little bit more colour in there, so I think it's worth pursuing. You may be wondering to yourselves why I'm not shooting the groins, the breakwaters that are running down into the surf, because obviously, you know, that's sort of a classic shot. Well, it's also a bit of a cliche. I mean, how many times do you see breakwaters with the surf all smoothed out by a long exposure, and to be honest, that's not really what I want to be shooting. I'm trying to get something a bit more subtle. I want the movement of the water and the softness of the colour to be the focal point. If I choose those groins, they're going to draw your eye away from that, and I want you to sort of roam around amongst the pebbles and the boulders. That's my intention. Now, looking at Portra 400 alongside the more obvious landscape choices, such as maybe the slide films, the Velvia and the Provia, and certainly Ektar, you'd think, oh, Ektar's going to bring out more colour. Well, it is, but I'm almost thinking monochromatic today. I mean, I could have shot HP5+, but I don't know. I don't really want a gritty look today. I want a smooth, subtle look, and I love that touch of colour that Portra gives. Now, Portra 160 is obviously nearly 2 stops slower than Portra 400. That's helping me to slow down the movement of the water, but I could do that with an ND filter. More importantly for me, the subtlety of Portra 160 is that it is less saturated than Portra 400, believe it or not, and it is very, very gentle indeed. I rarely use it, but in certain circumstances I think it's absolutely perfect. Now, compositions can be quite tricky to pick out amongst the rocks and the surf. It tends to all look the same, but you really need to get in amongst it, and as it's revealed by the receding tide, different opportunities crop up, but they're not there for long, because once the tides drop back enough, you're not going to get any movement of water around the rocks, so you really have a small window of opportunity, and I am getting very wet, but that's what you need to do to get the shot. Now, although the obvious attraction of a location like this is the sea, there's the crashing surf, there's drama, there's the sky, there's constant movement. One of the nicest things about a beach location like this is that you get rock formations. Now, this particular one has caught my eye because of the colour. Now, the colour is very subtle. It's a very, very gentle sort of purple hue. Now, that's going to work really well with the Portra 160 because it's going to play to its strengths. If I had an Ektar in here, it might become quite garish, you know, quite strong, and might dominate. Now, I want the colours to blend into one. It is almost monochrome again, and I might even play the colour down further in Lightroom. Well, that's me done for the morning, just a short outing. The rain is closing in, so I've had a very, very fortunate escape this morning. I think I've caught it just between heavy showers, so yeah, I enjoyed that little shoot with Portra. Obviously you'll have seen the results. I'm not quite sure how they turned out yet. I'll go back and develop with my own chemicals and get them scanned in, and if it does turn out to be successful and I like the look of it, I'll definitely be shooting with it again. I've got a few rolls in, and maybe just change my habits and shoot less 400, we'll see. So thanks anyway for coming along, and I'll see you again next time.